Here we are at Hesticombe Gallery. This is the first exhibition in these reclaimed spaces. The exhibition is entitled Leaping the Fence, and it presents the work of 16 contemporary artists who have significantly contributed to Britain's artistic output. Here's a painting by David Batchelor. It's called Colour Chart Painting 33 Green.
When I've seen images of it before on the internet, it's always been very flat. There's never been any hint that there's anything to it apart from just paint on a flat surface. But when you look at it really closely, you can see the beautiful textures that have been created, like using the paint and its drying methods.
Spartacus Chetwynd was nominated for the Turner Prize a few years ago, and we're presenting the film work The Walk to Dover, which was a performance Spartacus made with some friends. They recreated the walk taken by David Copperfield from London to Dover, and they tried to live off the land during their journey over 7 days. This bronze by Steve Johnstone, it's called Binoculars Charm No. 9.
I understand that this pair of binoculars was designed from a tiny charm, which was made into a wax model and then increased to have this huge bronze pair.
Adam Chodzko's Untitled Style teenage version is a brightly painted style that is kind of taken from the rural and put into an urban setting. He talks about it as a kind of funky, sexy object that is aimed at the teenager. So it's like a cool skateboard.
I wasn't sure what it was made of, wood or some other medium, but I think it's wood. This is my favourite piece, definitely.
In this room, we feature Marc Hoskins' Untitled Lowland Rice. We've placed it in a gallery space on its own. Behind the work is these amazing views of the gardens outside, which have never before been seen by the general public. The work itself is about the relationship between the developing world and the Western world. The work is Marc Hoskins' interpretation of the United Nations plans for making machinery that is very practical, in this case for harvesting rice. When taken out of the developing world and placed into a Western gallery, it takes on a very, very different role as a sculpture. Tracy Emin has made neon works for about the last 15 years. And here we've got her This Is Another Place in a wonderful pink neon that just glows in the room. This is Ruth Claxton's work. It's called Nest Turquoise Loops and features a bird in a nest. It sits high in the gallery and there's an interaction between the viewer and the piece of work.
I didn't see them in this.
No, there's 1, 2, there's 3 mirrors. A porcelain bird above, with his eyes covered.
It's like she's bringing the ornamental side, because you quite often see birds like that in your mantelpiece or in your cabinet when you go around to relatives. So it's almost like she's bringing sort of home back towards nature. What sort of bird is it?
I think it's a bee, to look at the long beak.
Bill Woodrow is one of our best known sculptors, and here we present Clock Swarm, which is a clock encased with a swarm of golden bees. We've taken 2 sets of work by Janice Kerbel. Janice Kerbel has produced a series called Home Climate Gardens, which are about indoor gardens for the future. We present here a garden for a laundrette, a Victorian terraced house, a council flat and an indoor island garden. Alongside the Home Climate Garden series is a radio play called Nick Silver Can't Sleep. The plants are insomniacs, and it's based on Janice Kerbel's research into what insomniacs think of and talk about in the middle of the night.
Go further. Reach down to your roots. Could it be possible you're afraid of the dark?
We've got 3 of Marc Quinn's garden squared photographs, which he took of his garden installation, where he brought flowers from around the world and placed them in a very large glass tank. I think they're set in gel. They're actually all dead, but they look incredibly alive and very odd because they're plants from around the world that you'd never find together in one place. Gavin Turk is interested in object making and how objects placed in a gallery, a little bit like Duchamp when he placed a urinal in a gallery and called it art. Here he's made a spade out of mahogany. It's called Desert Island Scenario, and it sits as a spade on the wall. Clare Woods makes very, very large paintings, often on aluminium. Here we've got one of her smaller paintings. It's called I Am Glad. It's from 2013, and she often starts the process of painting in the middle of the night by taking photographs. So it's quite possible this painting began life as a nighttime photograph of a nest. This work by Tania Kovats, which was made in 1999, is called Sunk. And Tania Kovats made a whole series of plinth works that were about taking the plinth and looking, rather than placing objects on the plinth, looking at what can happen inside the space within a plinth. Mark Wallinger's film Angel was first shown in Sensation in London, and I actually remember going to see it. It's a very striking film made in the Angel Islington tube station, and has to be presented from floor to ceiling. We're in one of the main rooms in Hestercombe House downstairs, and which is called the Portman Room, and we've placed Mike Nelson's work Taylor in here. And Mike Nelson makes works that are installations. Often he makes kind of labyrinths where you would wander from one room to the next and discover all sorts of environments. In this case, he's made a raft which was originally installed in Liverpool in a warehouse. It's got many connotations. One is the warehouse that it was installed in was part of the kind of slave trade. At the time he installed it, there was various people making rafts and trying to get from Cuba to the United States. Its title also, we think, refers to the lead character in Planet of the Apes, who was called Taylor. Susan Phillips makes sound pieces. Often they're outdoors. Often you may find one of her sound pieces under a bridge in a city. In this case, we've got a piece called The Internationale, which was made in Eastern Europe, and we're playing it outside the Victorian Tower. And we're hoping it will just pervade an area of landscape approaching the garden, so you'll just hear this distant sound of her singing.